On the morning of May 8, 1902, 30,000 people were alive in the city of Saint-Pierre. They had cafes, theaters, gas-lit streets. People called it the Paris of the Caribbean. 90 seconds later, almost every one of them was dead. Not from an earthquake, not from lava, from something the survivors couldn't even describe, because the human language didn't yet have a word for what came down that mountain. And here is the part nobody can explain away. They had been warned for 18 days. The smoke, the ash, the dead animals, the rising sea, every sign was there, and 30,000 people looked at all of it and decided to stay. 18 days before, Mount Pelée had always been kind to Saint-Pierre. For generations, it stood over the city, green, quiet, harmless. Children hiked its slopes. Families picnicked near its craters. It was scenery, not a threat. So when it began to smoke in late April, nobody was afraid. They were curious. A little sulfur in the air, a little ash on the rooftops, something to talk about at the market. The mountain had never hurt them. Why would it start now? That question, why would it start now, was about to kill a city. 14 days before, the ash stopped being interesting. It fell thicker now, coating gardens, wells, the white dresses drying on the line. The air turned bitter with sulfur. Horses grew restless in their stalls, and then the animals began to leave. Snakes poured down from the slopes, hundreds of them, sliding through the streets, into courtyards, into homes. Centipedes the length of a forearm. Insects fleeing something the people couldn't see. The animals had understood the mountain before the people did. Dozens were bitten. Some died. But the newspaper stayed calm. The mountain, it said, was simply letting off steam. There was no reason to worry. 8 days before, then the mountain stopped hinting. On May 5th, a wall of boiling mud tore loose from the slopes and roared toward the sea. It swallowed a sugar factory whole. In seconds, dozens of workers were gone, buried where they stood. The mud hit the ocean so violently that the sea recoiled. The water pulled back from the harbor, exposing the seabed, and then came rushing back as a wave that flooded the low streets of Saint-Pierre. Now the people were afraid. Now they wanted to leave. Boats filled, roads filled, families packed what they could carry. This was the moment the city could have saved itself. But there was an election in 3 days. 6 days before, the authorities needed the city full. Empty streets meant empty ballot boxes, and the men in charge were not going to lose an election to a mountain. So the message went out, everywhere. The danger was passing. The eruptions were normal. Saint-Pierre was safe. To make the point, a commission of officials studied the mountain and declared there was nothing to fear. The governor himself moved his family into the city to prove it. The newspaper printed the reassurance in bold, and the people, desperate to believe it, because leaving meant losing everything, chose to trust the men who told them to stay. They unpacked their bags. They stayed. 2 days before, the mountain did not care about the election. By May 6th, the summit glowed at night. 2 craters burned red against the black sky, lighting the underside of the ash clouds like a furnace. The rumbling never stopped now. It came up through the floorboards, through the walls, through the chest. In the harbor, ship captains grew uneasy. Some wanted to pull anchor and run. They were told the danger was passing. One captain refused to believe it and sailed out anyway. His ship was one of the only things in that harbor that would survive. The night before, on the night of May 7th, 30,000 people went to sleep beneath a burning mountain. Ash sifted down onto their rooftops like gray snow. The air was hot and sharp. The glow from the summit painted their windows orange. And still, after everything, most of them believed the worst was behind them. They had survived the smoke, survived the ash, survived the mud, the snakes, the shaking ground. If they had survived all of that, surely they would survive the morning. That was the lesson the mountain had spent 18 days teaching them. It was a lie. 7:52 a.m. At 7:52 on the morning of May 8th, the side of Mount Pelée split open. What came out was not lava. Lava is slow. Lava you can outrun. This was a cloud, a boiling avalanche of gas, ash, and rock, superheated past 1,000 degrees, moving faster than a hurricane, hugging the ground as it came. Scientists would later give it a name, a pyroclastic flow, one of the deadliest forces on Earth. The people of Saint-Pierre had no name for it. They had no time to find one. 7:53 a.m. The cloud covered the distance to the city in less than a minute. There was no running from it, no hiding from it. By the time you saw it, it had already reached you. It came over Saint-Pierre like the lid of an oven closing. The temperature was so extreme that glass melted, stone cracked, iron bent. People died exactly where they stood, mid-step, mid-word, mid-breath, frozen in the last ordinary second of their lives. 7:54 a.m. 90 seconds. That was all it took. The Paris of the Caribbean, its theaters, its cafes, its 30,000 souls, was gone. Where a city had stood, there was now only ash and fire, and a silence so complete that the first rescuers thought they had lost their way. They had not lost their way. There was simply nothing left to recognize. Out of 30,000 people, only a handful lived. And the most famous survivor of all was a prisoner. His name was Ludger Silbaris. The night before the eruption, he had been arrested and thrown into the town jail, into a windowless stone cell, half buried underground, with a single narrow slit for air. It was built to punish him. It saved his life. When the cloud swept over the city, that thick stone shell held. Silbaris survived the heat that killed 30,000 people, burned, in agony, screaming into the dark. For days he waited, trapped, certain he would die there. When rescuers finally dug him out, they found a man who had lived through the end of a world that no longer existed. The cell meant to cage him had been the safest place in the entire city. When the rescue ships finally reached the shore, they found no city to rescue. They found a smoking gray field where Saint-Pierre used to be. Melted glass fused into stone. Ships capsized in the harbor, ash and stillness, and the shapes of a morning that had been interrupted forever. Mount Pelée had done in 90 seconds what war and time and disease had never managed. It had erased a city from the map. And it left behind a warning written in ash, the same warning every disaster leaves, and the one people find hardest to hear. The signs had been there for 18 days. The smoke, the animals, the mud, the sea, the dead. Every single one pointed at the same thing, and 30,000 people looked at all of it and chose to believe that tomorrow would be like yesterday. It was not. It never is. If you made it this far, you already understand why this story matters. The disaster wasn't only the eruption. It was the belief that tomorrow would look like yesterday. Subscribe, and next week, we'll show you another moment where the warnings were ignored.